Have you ever walked away from a moment with a man and felt the energy still hanging in the air, as if something about you remained behind, like your presence carried weight even after you left? That's not some mystery, it's psychology. And today we're diving into the real reason why certain women stay in a man's mind while others are quickly forgotten. It's not about looks, it's not about clever texts or red lipstick or saying the most charming thing. What makes a man think of you when he's alone? What keeps him checking his phone, remembering your voice, wondering why he can't shake thoughts of you? Goes much deeper. It's something instinctive, something emotional, and once you grasp it, you'll never approach love the same. Again, in this video, we're uncovering what I call the lingering effect. It's the art of emotional impact, how to leave a part of your energy in his thoughts long after you've left the room. It's not a trick. It's not manipulation. It's about being the kind of woman who makes a man feel something genuine, something that stays. Because when a man truly feels you, he can't forget you. And if you've ever felt unseen or like men move on from you too fast, this is going to change your view on everything. So get ready, because what you're about to discover isn't just surface level tips. It's a mix of emotional insight and connection that goes deep. And once you understand this, you won't just enter his life, you'll remain in his thoughts. Let's get started. A lot of people think men are emotionally simple, that all they want is physical attraction, respect, or admiration. But underneath that, what men actually long for isn't often discussed, even by them. It's something they can't always explain, and sometimes don't even realize they need until they feel it. And once they do, it's something they can't forget. Deep down, men crave emotional safety, not in the usual sense of always being comforted or praised, but in the way a woman makes him feel about who he is when he's around her. A man becomes attached to the woman who helps him feel like he's more than what the world expects of him. In a life where he's expected to always deliver, protect, provide, and stay tough. What he secretly wants is to be truly seen, not just for his strength, but for his fears, his tenderness, his moments of doubt. He wants a place to let his guard down, and a woman who offers that without asking him to give up his masculinity becomes someone unforgettable to him. Men also want to feel chosen, not just needed. They want to believe that the woman beside them isn't just settling, but genuinely sees them. Not just their achievements, their potential or lifestyle, but their true self, the version that's real, unsure, and human. When a woman accepts that side of him without judgment, she becomes someone he can't replace. More than that, men want to feel emotionally desired, not just admired for what they've accomplished, but wanted for who they are when they're most open. A quiet kind of desire, where they're accepted in their stillness, not just in their actions. They want to know they can show their weaker side and still be valued, but very few situations and very few people make them feel that way. So, when they experience it with a woman, when they feel emotionally seen and still respected, they don't forget her. Here's the truth that shifts everything. A man might meet dozens of attractive women, but if you're the one who touches his emotions, who makes him feel like he can stop pretending and still be good enough, he'll keep revisiting that feeling in his thoughts. Because men aren't blind to emotional closeness, they're starved for it. And often don't notice that until someone finally gives it to them in a way that feels real and easy. That's why connection is always more powerful than attention. You can be the most attractive woman in the room and still be forgotten. But if you speak to a hidden part of him, the part that's still unsure, the part that questions if he's enough when no one's watching, that's the part of him that will keep coming back to you in his mind. And here's the unexpected truth. Men don't crave this from just anyone. They feel it with women who balance confidence with warmth. A woman who stands strong in who she is, who doesn't change just to please, and who loves from a place of self-respect. She doesn't offer peace just to get close. She doesn't fix him. She inspires him to be more honest with himself just by being herself. That's what men really look for. Not a perfect fantasy. Not someone who always needs him to be tough, but someone who understands that even the strongest man needs to be embraced, truly seen, and deeply understood. A woman who understands the strength of emotional presence and strength of true connection. A woman who understands the strength of emotional presence, a strength of true connection, uses that not to gain control but to truly connect. When you learn to offer that kind of energy, not everyone will be ready for it, but the right man will always remember it, because emotional safety isn't just rare, it's something he'll always want more of, and once he feels it with you, it sticks. There's a reason certain people stay on your mind, why seeing their name lights up your phone and your heartbeat skips even if you haven't seen them in ages. That's not only chemistry, it's deep psychology. And when it comes to men, there's one thing that keeps you in his mind long after you're out of sight. It's what I call the lingering effect. The lingering effect is the emotional impression you leave behind. It's not just in what you say or how you appear, it's how he feels in the quiet after you've gone. A lot of women try hard to impress in the moment, but the ones who leave a lasting impression know how to echo. They may speak little, but what they say remains. This isn't about acting distant or playing hard to get. It's about creating emotional contrast. Men get hooked on women who break their emotional routines in a world filled with shallow talk, endless distractions, and surface connections. The woman who makes him feel something real, even for a few minutes, becomes unforgettable because he's not used to it. He doesn't know he needs that depth until you give it to him. And once you do, he keeps thinking about it. That's how obsession starts. Not in what he sees, but in what he feels. What stays with him isn't your appearance. It's the moment you made him reflect. It's the way you looked at him when he opened up. It's the quiet confidence you had when you walked away instead of chasing. It's the calm in your energy, like you weren't trying to win him over, you were just being yourself. That's what lingers, because emotional impressions are formed when we interrupt someone's routine. The women who stay in a man's thoughts are the ones who understand subtlety. They don't overshare or ask too much. They leave space, room for curiosity, for imagination, for his emotions to rise naturally. When you don't try to fill every pause, when you're okay letting a conversation end with a little unknown, it gives him the space to come toward you, not because he should, but because he wants to. And desire is what fuels obsession, not attention. Here's something most people don't think about. When you create a meaningful emotional experience and let go of trying to control the outcome, you give a man space to feel the real weight of your presence. That's when he starts to wonder about you. That's when he replays your words, rereads your messages, and reimagines your smile right before you said goodbye. Because obsession isn't formed while you're present, it grows in the silence after. And there's power in that, because obsession isn't about chasing someone down. It's about making such an emotional mark that they chase the feeling of being with you again, the peace you brought, the way you noticed them when others didn't. So, if you want to be the woman who stays in his mind, don't aim to impress him, affect him, leave him feeling better than before, then walk away with your energy whole. Don't stay too long, don't over-explain, let the silence speak, because it's not about being around all the time, it's about being unforgettable where it matters. The lingering effect isn't about mind games, it's about knowing who you are, mastering your presence, your vibe, your limits. When you become a woman who stands strong in herself without needing a specific outcome, you leave room for obsession to take shape naturally. Because obsession isn't only about wanting someone, it's about continuing to feel them after they're no longer there. And when he feels you like that, you won't just cross his mind, he'll crave being near you again. Attraction isn't random. It doesn't just appear without reason. There are actual moments and behaviors that create it. Subtle, emotional triggers that speed up his heartbeat and get him thinking about a future with you. They're not loud or dramatic. They're quiet, real, and powerful. And when you understand how to use them, you'll never have to chase love again. Wondering if a man is really into you starts with noticing the way he leans in before you even say anything. One of the most overlooked attraction switches is emotional contrast. That's when you show different sides of your personality in a single moment. Gentleness and strength, humor and depth, curiosity and calmness. Why does this pull people in? Because variety is memorable. It hits people emotionally when you surprise them in a natural, effortless way. Picture this. You're having a playful conversation full of lightness and smiles, and out of nowhere you say something thoughtful or deep that reveals a layer of who you are. That shift makes him stop for a second. You change the tone, and that change grabs him because now you're not expected. You're real. Another powerful draw is genuine presence. So many people don't actually listen these days, but when you look a man in the eyes, respond with subtle nods, laugh fully when something's funny, and pause before speaking, you're doing something rare. You're showing him you're truly there. That kind of presence makes a man feel seen and important. Most men are performing all day at their jobs, online, even on dates. But when he feels like he can stop performing around you, that moment becomes electric. That's when your energy becomes something he starts to chase. There's also value expression, not bragging, not oversharing, but naturally showing that your life is already full, meaningful, and exciting even without him in it. Maybe you mention a book you're really into, a trip you've planned with friends, or a personal goal that lights you up. These moments quietly show that you're not waiting for a man to give your life value. You're already living it. And that energy, the kind that comes from a woman who's moving forward, content and growing, is one of the most attractive things a man can witness. It silently says, if you want to be in my life, you need to bring something genuine too. Then there's the quiet strength of self-restraint, holding back when others would spill everything, staying grounded when others might lose control, choosing not to explain yourself when someone doesn't understand you. These little choices say a lot. They speak to emotional strength. And emotional strength is incredibly attractive. It's not common, it's not dramatic. It shows a man that you don't need chaos to feel powerful. You are powerful because you own your emotion. Men feel safe with women like that. And contrary to what some believe, safety doesn't kill attraction, it makes it stronger. One of the most real attraction triggers is curiosity. When you show a man you're genuinely interested in what makes him who he is, not just his job or achievements, but his motivations, hidden dreams, and the things that shaped his beliefs, you instantly become different from everyone else, not because you're grilling him with questions, but because you're offering a space where he feels deeply seen. And here's what happens next. When he feels seen by you, he wants to see you more. He gets curious in return. And that's how connection grows. Real attraction isn't about acting flawless, it's about being emotionally smart, centered, and genuinely present in a way that's rare. When you affect a man emotionally using presence, curiosity, contrast, and subtle confidence, he doesn't just find you attractive, he feels it, and that feeling lingers. Because attraction isn't just about what we see, it's about what we sense. If you tap into the right emotions, you won't just catch his attention, you'll keep it. Here's a truth that's hard to face. Obsession doesn't disappear because someone got bored. It disappears because the very mystery that made you unforgettable got smothered. That deep mental obsession isn't created just by your presence. It's created by how someone feels when you're not there. And sadly, most women end up crushing that feeling by doing things that seem harmless, but actually push men away. One of the biggest things that kills that obsession is over-explaining. When you always feel the need to defend your choices, explain your feelings, or fix every misunderstanding by texting back and forth, you think you're being open, but really you're removing all the mystery. Obsession thrives on a little bit of unknown. If he knows everything you're thinking all the time, there's nothing left to explore. And with no curiosity, there's no pull. Another quiet killer is being too emotionally available. Of course, being kind and supportive matters. But when you're always available emotionally, always quick to reply, always putting his needs before your own, you stop being a challenge. And whether we admit it or not, men are drawn to a little challenge. Not games, but the energy that says, I want you, but I don't need you. That mix is magnetic. Overgiving flips the balance. It can make him feel like you're trying to earn him instead of simply matching him. And that's when attraction starts to slide. Then there's the mistake of always trying to prove your worth. Maybe you try to show how busy and in demand you are. Maybe you name drop people who want you. Maybe you highlight how high value you are compared to others. But all of that creates pressure instead of desire. Obsession doesn't come from proving anything. It comes from just being. The second you start trying to convince him of your value, you move from creating attraction to asking for validation. And that shift is obvious, even if it's subtle. A really common trap is trying to control the outcome. When you're too focused on where things are headed, what he's feeling, or if he's pulling away, you stop flowing naturally and start trying too hard. That anxious energy, it shows. You might think you're hiding it, but emotions are loud even when unspoken. And men feel that emotional neediness sooner than you think. It doesn't feel inviting, it feels heavy. And obsession doesn't survive when a man feels trapped. Predictability is another slow killer. Doing the same things, texting at the same time every day, always saying yes, always reacting in the same way, creates a pattern. Patterns feel safe, but they don't spark obsession. Obsession needs surprise. A change in tempo, a different reaction, something that makes him notice you all over again. When everything about you becomes expected, he might like you, but he won't crave you. And maybe the most damaging habit of all, neglecting your own life. The less you invest in your dreams, your friendships, your creativity, the more you start centering your life around him. And once you start revolving around him, the magnetic pull fades. People are drawn to momentum. If you're not moving, there's nothing to reach for. Obsession grows when he sees you glowing, chasing goals and becoming more of yourself, with or without him. The real takeaway? If you want to stay in a man's thoughts, you can't be too available, too eager, or too focused on controlling his feelings. You have to become the kind of woman who knows her value and doesn't throw it at anyone. Let the silence do some of the work. Let him miss you. Because obsession isn't built in the constant presence, it's born in the space between moments. Be unforgettable, not just convenient. That's what creates lasting attraction. Deep desire doesn't come from loud actions. It's not in flashy outfits or dramatic words. The most powerful kind of desire comes from the tiniest moments, the ones most people never even notice. These are the actions that slip under his radar, dodge logic, and hit his emotions directly. If you want a man to feel that lingering, burning, can't stop thinking about you type of longing, you need to let go of trying so hard. Start getting good at subtle power. One of the most magnetic, subtle actions is simply being okay with silence. Most people panic and rush to talk. But a woman who can sit calmly, meet his eyes and let a quiet moment stretch, she becomes unforgettable. That stillness says, I'm comfortable with myself, and men feel that. In the quiet, his mind starts asking, who is she? Why isn't she trying to impress me? What's going on inside her? That curiosity becomes glue. It pulls him closer. Another underrated move is intentional light touch. Not clingy, not obvious, just a brief hand on his arm during a laugh, a soft brush on his back as you walk past, a momentary touch on his shoulder in a crowded space. These gestures are small, but to a man's nervous system, they light up everything. Touch sends signals of trust, fun, and closeness, without saying a thing. But the key is using it sparingly. Too much loses its magic. Desire grows when something is rare, not when it's constant. Then there's holding eye contact just a little longer. Don't look away right away. Let your gaze stay with his for an extra beat. That small pause, that held stare, it's electric. You don't need to say anything. Let him feel it. Most men are rarely looked at like that, and when they are, it stays with them. It creates a wordless bond. It's gentle, yet intense, and it stays with him long after you've walked away. One more subtlety many women miss is being selectively vulnerable. Instead of sharing your whole life story or trying to look perfect, offer him a small glimpse into something real, but only a little. For example, a short comment like, I used to doubt myself a lot until I learned how to show up for myself in a new way says much more than a long story ever could. It shows depth. It lets him know you've lived, changed, felt things. That gives you emotional credibility. When you reveal that you have layers, but don't show them all at once, it draws him in. Even your voice is part of it. Lowering your tone a bit when saying something meaningful, speaking more slowly when asking a deep question, or softening your tone when giving a compliment. These small changes go beyond logic and touch something deeper. You're not just talking, you're creating a moment. And that moment is what stays with him. But maybe the most important subtle move is stepping back a little after a strong emotional connection. Imagine you just had a meaningful talk. A moment full of chemistry, a real spark. Most people would try to hold on tighter, but the woman who gently pulls back, who ends the conversation first, who walks away with a calm smile, who leaves him wanting more but not giving it all, that's the woman who stays on his mind because she didn't cling to the moment. She let it breathe. That's what makes him look forward to the next one. Real desire isn't about doing the most, it's about doing small things with purpose. These gestures don't shout, "Look at me!" They softly whisper, "Remember me." And when done well, they stay with him, quietly growing in his thoughts, until he starts wondering where you are and craving your presence. That's how deep desire begins. Not with something loud, but with a quiet moment that never completely disappears. Words have power. But the right words said at the right time can stay in a man's mind long after the moment is over. They don't just sound nice, they stick. They replay in his head at unexpected times. And it's not about trying to be poetic or memorable on purpose. It's about creating a feeling, a sense of connection, and leaving a bit of mystery. The kind of words that don't beg for attention but hold it. One line that can echo in his heart is, "I don't need much, I just value presence." That hits deep. It shows him you're not chasing status, drama, or attention. You're seeking something real. Presence, honesty, truth. And men don't hear that often. In a world that tells them their worth is in what they give, this one line makes them wonder, would I be enough if I just showed up as myself? That question stays with him. Another line that hits hard is, "You have this energy that makes people feel safe, even when you don't notice it." That's more than just a compliment. It's a real emotional observation. It tells him you see past the surface, and most men never feel seen that way. When you speak to who he is and not just what he does, it creates emotional closeness. He'll think about it during quiet moments, especially when he's unsure of himself, and he'll remember that peaceful feeling you gave him. Try saying something like, "I love how you make space for both silence and laughter. It's rare." That's subtle but powerful. It tells him you're drawn to the calm moments too, not just the fun. It shows that you see and appreciate emotional depth. He'll want to live up to that image you reflect back at him. It's a compliment and a mirror at the same time. Then there's a beautiful line like, "You remind me of calm, the kind you don't know you miss until you feel it again." Say this after a quiet moment shared together and just watch what happens. It's poetic but still simple. It sticks with him not because it's clever, but because it's honest. Men remember how you make them feel, and that line puts a feeling into words. Another one, "You don't have to do anything. I just like being around your end." That line makes him feel emotionally safe. It removes pressure. It tells him he doesn't need to perform to hold your attention, that just being himself is enough. In a world that constantly demands men prove themselves, this sentence becomes a kind of song in his memory. And don't underestimate how powerful something like "you have no idea how rare you are" can be. Just 7 words, but they make him pause. Say it with sincerity, maybe after he shares something close to his heart, or when he's not expecting it. It lands deep because it's not about feeding his ego, it's about recognizing something honest inside him. One last one. "Whatever you do next, I hope it feels like peace." That phrase can completely change the way he sees you. It's calm, caring, and it tells him that even if you're not chasing him, you still care about his well-being. That kind of phrase lingers because There's no pressure, just a lasting memory of your emotional grace. These phrases aren't about playing games, they're about reflecting truth. When you speak to the real man underneath the surface, he doesn't just remember the words. He remembers the way those words made him feel. And feelings are what keep you in his thoughts, even when you're not around. A woman of true value doesn't walk into a room demanding attention. She naturally draws it in, not by being loud or flashy, but through an energy that gently says, I know who I am, and I don't have to prove it. People feel her presence before she even speaks, and they remember it long after she's gone. This presence isn't something you're born with, it's something you create. And once you understand how it works, you don't chase connection, you become the connection. The first part of that presence is emotional self-control. A high-value woman isn't reacting to every little thing. She doesn't overshare or try to explain herself constantly or fill silence just to avoid it. She understands that stillness is powerful. When you feel calm in your own skin, when your energy isn't searching for approval but is just there, it draws people in, not because you're trying, but because you're steady. And that steadiness feels like emotional safety, especially to a man who rarely gets to experience that kind of peace. The second part is gentle unpredictability, not in a confusing way, but in a layered way. A woman of value has many sides. She's warm but not always available. She's fun but not always predictable. She's kind but her boundaries are clear. That contrast keeps people interested. When someone thinks they know you, and then they see something new, a thoughtful insight, a bold opinion, a quiet strength, it keeps their mind active. This unpredictability adds emotional flavor, and that's what keeps them coming back. The third part is body language. Your presence isn't just your words, it's how you move, how you stand, how you hold space. It's the way you enter a room without shrinking. It's the way your eyes meet his just long enough to spark curiosity. The way your smile welcomes, but doesn't chase. A woman who knows her value moves like she belongs, not because she thinks she's better, but because she's not asking for permission to exist. That quiet confidence, even in stillness, stays with people. Next comes purposeful energy. You don't show up just anywhere. You're thoughtful with your time, your space, your attention. When someone feels chosen by you, not because you need them, but because you simply enjoy their presence, it raises their view of you. And this applies in friendships, in work, in love. People feel it when your energy isn't scattered or needy, but focused and deliberate. That's what sets apart someone who impresses from someone who magnetizes. Another big part is passion, not passion for a person, for your life. When you talk about your dreams, your projects, your favorite activities, your eyes light up. That excitement makes you unforgettable, because desire is most attractive when it starts with you, not with someone else's approval. A woman who's working on something, who has a goal, who lights up from the inside, that woman becomes the muse, the enigma, the one he keeps thinking about. And lastly, there's softness. Real presence isn't just strong, it's kind. You don't have to be cold to be respected, you just need to respect yourself. Being gentle but firm, kind but clear, that balance creates a presence that doesn't scream. It shifts the energy of a room. People pay attention, they feel something around you, and they don't forget it. Because you weren't trying to be remembered, you were just being real. The formula may be simple. Stay grounded, stay purposeful, stay whole, but when you do, you don't just attract attention, you create real connection. And that's what lasts. Lit up from within and allow your energy to speak for you. You don't need to act out just to be noticed. You only need to stand firm in your own strength. That's the kind of presence that stays with people. That's the presence of a woman who values herself. Becoming unforgettable isn't about being louder, more attractive, or always around. It's about how you affect someone deep inside. It's about building moments that stay even long after you're gone. And the truth is, when you hold yourself with steady confidence, when your words are chosen with care and your energy is in tune, you leave behind something that no one else can copy. Men don't become fixated on women who fight for attention. They become emotionally drawn to those who are fully comfortable in their skin. The women who understand their value, who show gentleness without giving up their power, who allow space without breaking the bond. That kind of balance is unusual, and what's rare always draws people in. If you've ever thought about why certain women stay in someone's mind after just one meeting, one talk, even one glance, it's not because they tried too hard. It's because they showed up as themselves in the most grounded, strong way. They didn't push, they flowed, they didn't over-explain, they allowed silence to carry meaning, and they didn't run after anyone. They attracted naturally. So this is what to remember. You don't have to fight to be unforgettable. You just need to be in line with yourself, be in line with your truth, be in line with your calm, be in line with your quiet strength. When you do that, you stop trying to be picked and start being the one they never forget you. Now have the emotional knowledge, the words, the understanding, the way of being that makes that kind of impact. Use them wisely. Let them become part of you. And above all, believe that when you truly own your energy, the right person won't just see you. They won't be able to stop thinking about you. That's the real truth.